Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 25 seconds. 20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Baby, what is up, Bills Mafia? Z-Bot here with you on the Smoke Break Monday night primetime, a Monday night doubleheader tonight, and I'm about to watch the Raiders attempt a 48-yarder. The kick is up, and the kick is good. The Raiders beat Nick Mullins and the Cleveland Browns. What a heartbreaker for Cleveland. Oh, wait a sec. I think Cleveland got a timeout off. It looks like Stefanski got the timeout off. I mean, my God. Nick Mullins. Are you kidding me? Right now, it's 14-13. The Raiders put the kick up. And it went in, and they got the Browns got the timeout off right before the kick. So I'll keep you updated on that. While we wait for that kick, actually, it's happening right now. I'm going to give you the full play-by-play. Here we go. 48-yard attempt, 3 seconds remaining. 14-13, Browns lead. Raiders will walk off with the victory if the kick is good. Here's the snap, the hold. The kick is up, and it's right down the chutes. Raiders take the game 16-14. Wow. Thank God that game was on at 5. What a snoozer. Hey, I can't even get into this show before I mention this freaking jacket. Are we kidding with this thing? Look at this. Are you seeing this? Unbelievable. Shout out my boy Nate Sawicki and his dad Jim. $3.99 for the best jacket I own. Outside of the one my girlfriend who's sitting in the room just got me for Christmas. I got to make sure I mind my P's and Q's. This thing, though, insane. And I said yesterday, I go, with this, I was at the game with this jacket on. I go, if I got this jacket on, there is literally less than a 1% chance the Bills could possibly lose. Look at this thing, and could you imagine the Bills losing with this jacket on? You could. And they didn't. Bills get it done at home yesterday afternoon, 31-14 over the Carolina Panthers. Was at the game. My God, was it cold. Freezing cold at that game. I thought the Patriots game was cold, but that was expected, obviously. It said it was going to be, sunny, kind of cloudy. For the game yesterday. I don't think I was expecting it to be that cold. Good turnout, despite the fact that tickets were literally $6. It was insane. I sat lower bowl in the end zone in which Gabe Davis scored that unreal touchdown. Of course, we'll get into that throughout the show. But I was down in that end zone, and I think I paid after fees $20. It was awesome. So I'll keep reiterating this. As much as everybody wants to do stadium, whether it's a dome, outdoor, you name it, just enjoy what we have while we have it now, because the days of getting a $6 ticket for the lower bowl immediately come to an end the second a new stadium gets built in Buffalo. So enjoy it while we have it, because it's fantastic. All the college kids are home up in Buffalo. You could tell a lot of younger people were there. It's what happens when the prices are that low. It's fantastic. You literally cannot beat it. I mean, you literally cannot beat it. Even now, you can still get season tickets for the Bills for insanely cheap compared to other teams. I mean, you're going to need to take out a second mortgage if you want to get like season tickets for the Steelers, Cowboys, whatever. I always say just enjoy what we have while we have it, because I don't have an issue with the Ralph. I don't have an issue with $6 tickets. I don't know many who do. So we'll leave that at that. But it was cold. It was kind of a boring game, wasn't it? It was about what I expected. I got to tell you, man, the pulse that I feel like I have on this team lately, it just feels like you're almost one with them. I just what I felt was going to happen yesterday is exactly what happened. Everybody kept asking me in the tailgate in the lots, what do you think is going to happen today? I said, look, I think the Panthers have a good enough D to keep this game respectable. I said, I think the Bills throughout the entirety of the game have their lock on it. I don't think it ever gets out of hand to where you think the Bills are going to lose it. I don't think they're ever going to really run away with it to where you think they're blowing them out. It's going to be one of those games where it's just kind of meh. It seems like the Bills are in complete control, but they don't win 40-0. It just is going to feel like the Bills had this one locked up the whole time, never seemed to get away from them, but it was never insanely dominant. And that's kind of what this game was. I was expecting like a 24-13 game. That's about what it was until the Bills score late. But it's exactly what Buffalo needed after a stretch of a few games that were just demoralizing. And I think as we look down the stretch here, the Bills know what's in sight, and it's simply one game at a time at this point. It is one game at a time. That's what the thumbnail of this video says. And of course, as cliche as it is the absolute truth. What we wanted to begin the season was, of course, the 1 seed, but that's out of the window. That's gone. But if you were to ask Bills fans, if you couldn't have the 1 seed, what would you take in this season? And of course, the answer would be to win the AFC East. And despite the struggles that the Bills have had the last 2 months, frankly, throughout the entire season, if you want to nitpick things, the desire to win the division is just as realistic today as it was week 1. All you have to do is take it one game at a time and win out. That's what the Bills did on Sunday. Listen, we've never seen a season, I don't think, like this season, where every single team, each and every week, despite your record, despite how good you have played, you can lose any given Sunday. And it seems that every single week, a top team gets knocked off by a team that you could never have imagined beating them. Case in point, the Detroit Lions, they knock off the Arizona Cardinals yesterday. So you can't sit here and tell me that yesterday was a lock. You can't ever tell me that anything with this Bills team this year is going to be a lock when they lost to an Urban Meyer-led Jacksonville Jaguars team. So as much as you want to say, well, it wasn't incredibly impressive, and yeah, there was some good spots, of course, in the game, you cannot take anything for granted. I will take a 31-14 win over the Panthers any day of the week. Any day of the week. We have seen a lot worse happen against teams on an equal level to the Carolina Panthers. And frankly, if you look at what the Panthers have on defense, it's just as good as about what anybody else has. And I think that's probably the best performance the Bills have had on offense against a top-level defense. And it's tough to believe that a team with the Panthers record has a defense like they do. But as of right now, looking at team total defense in 2021, the Carolina Panthers are ranked second, right behind your Buffalo Bills and right in front of our upcoming opponent in the New England Patriots. The Carolina Panthers defense is no joke. And I think the most impressive thing that we saw against these Carolina Panthers and that defense is probably the best game that Devin Singletary has had in quite some time. It was obvious coming off of the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that they had learned, and the Bills being they, that as much as they would like to throw the ball 70 times a game and not run it, it's just not going to be able to be sustainable. As much as I would like for this team to just throw the ball because it's really the only thing that they are consistently good at on offense, you simply cannot do it week in and week out because it's going to become way too predictable. I mean, look at the Bucs game. They hadn't even done that all season, and it was still incredibly predictable. As I told you on last week's show, Colin Cowherd had said it was the most disrespectful defensive game plan he had ever seen a team implement. And I agreed with him because they did not respect anything to do with the Bills defense or the ability to throw the ball consistently, because when you are throwing the ball that much and you are able to take away the first read and blitz like any team really is able to do against this offensive line, it is incredibly tough to have a good outing. And the Bills had a terrible first half and a much better second half. But as far as a complete game is concerned, the only time that game really wound up turning around is when Devin Singletary was at least able to add a bit of a threat in the run game to allow the Tampa Bay defense to respect it enough to open things up. Now, I can't stand the run game for this team. It's very easy to say you got to run it. But when they can't do it, it's incredibly frustrating. But in this game against a good defense, and I understand 4 yards on average on 22 attempts isn't incredibly, it isn't world-shattering by any means, but I'm going to take a 22 carry for 86-yard performance out of Devin Singletary all day long in this current regime with Buffalo. What you also have to look at, too, is as we go down the stretch here, and Allen is banged up, we're lucky he even played in this game, you like to see a big discrepancy between carries with Allen and the rest of the team. 22 carries for Devin Singletary, 3 carries for Josh Allen. And we've seen a lot of the complete opposite throughout the year. As we go down the stretch here, preserving Josh Allen's health is crucial. And if you're able to do what the Bills did on Sunday, and that's run the ball with decent consistency, hell, even get in the end zone, that was a run that wasn't on the 1 yard line, very few and far between for this Bills team. We'll take that any day of the week. And I think where the impressive thing comes for me is that this Carolina defense isn't a slouch. They are no slouch. And to be perfectly frank, going into this one, after what I had saw a defense, in my opinion, that I think is less talented than this Carolina Panthers defense, we saw the Jacksonville D take it to Buffalo. So going into this one, I was a bit concerned with that element. I was a bit concerned that since the Carolina defense seems to have the personnel to be able to put together a good game plan against Buffalo, I was interested to see how they'd handle it. And you'll take 31 points against a top defense any day of the week. Coming in here is Jack Balthazar. Excuse me if I didn't pronounce that, Jack, correctly. My fault. Jack Balthazar. Let's be honest, the Bills don't deserve to take the division if they don't go 1-1 versus the Pats and to take a must-win game versus the Falcons and Jets. Thank you for segueing me there, my friend Jack, and you could not be more spot on. I will say, after what I had witnessed from New England against the Indianapolis Colts on Saturday night, what we saw out of the Bills yesterday, the fact that we know the Bills will not be playing the Patriots again in a hurricane, I am overly confident in the Bills this coming weekend. Don't ask me why. I understand it's still the same Bills team. I understand it's still the same Patriots team we faced a few weeks ago. I am overly confident in this game. I'm actually considering betting it. The Bills are 2-point underdogs. Now, before you go, why the hell are the Bills underdogs? Well, for starters, they should be underdogs in this game. It's at New England. New England beat them the last time they were out. But what that line does tell you is 2 points means it's a pick 'em. When you are an evenly matched team with the visiting opponent, usually Vegas gives you a 3-point advantage. They're getting 2 here, and it is New England. So that's telling you they think the Bills are even a bit better than that leniency of a 3-point advantage that the home team gets. And what it's also telling you is they think this game is going to be incredibly close. Do not lose sight of the fact that this game coming up this coming Sunday is one of, if not the biggest game in the AFC East in recent memory, in a very, very long time. It might be one of the biggest divisional games ever. The swing in which the playoff chances go for either team with a win or a loss is insane. It's insane. The Bills will go, if they win, the Bills will go to an 87% chance to win the AFC East. If they lose, they go to 0. That's how big this game is. Playoff chances as well also definitely fluctuate massively, win or lose. This game is huge. I cannot ever remember a game that has so much on the line when it comes to the division with still 3 games remaining. Absolutely massive game. And I think if you're a Bills fan right now, you could not be more confident based on how the past weekend here played out. I think New England, for the first time in what feels like months, they looked absolutely vulnerable. They got their ass kicked. And I understand the Indianapolis Colts beat the crap out of the Bills. I get that. What we saw on Sunday is something we hadn't really seen against New England all year. They got destroyed, and there was no answer. And for my main takeaway, Mac Jones, he's human, folks. And that when I say folks, I'm talking to the people who want to anoint him as Tom Brady 2.0. Look, I'm in the camp of I think it could definitely happen. I think the kid's got the mindset for it. I think he's a perfect fit for New England. I could totally see Mac Jones being the future for New England for the next 2 decades. Don't get me wrong. But let's pump the brakes a little bit. And on Saturday night, we noticed the reason as to why the brakes should be pumped a bit. He played horrendously. He played absolutely terrible. And that's because he was forced to have to throw the ball on Saturday night. The exact opposite of what he had to do against the Buffalo Bills on Monday night a few weeks ago. Mac Jones in that game, I mean, the amount of attempts that he threw, it's way higher than what you would have expected, but that's what happens when you go down early. The Patriots went down early in that game. I think at one point they were down 20-0. And when it gets to that point in time, you have got to be able to throw the ball. Mac Jones against the Indianapolis Colts had 45 attempts. If the Bills are able to get an early lead in Foxborough on Sunday, you're looking at a W. That's the way I see it. I'm thinking in this game, if you win the toss, I think you take the ball. We all know that McDermott never, ever takes the ball off of a coin toss. I, for one, love that. I'm all in favor of getting the ball in the second half. I think in this game, whoever is able to get off to the early lead winds up getting it done. 45 attempts for Mac Jones, a 57.8 completion percentage. 2 interceptions. He should have had 3. And a quarterback rating of 53.5. I mean, folks, we're taking that all day long if that happens on Sunday. And look, I don't care if he had 45 attempts against the Colts. He might not have that against the Bills. He's going to be throwing the damn ball. This is not going to be a game where he's throwing the ball 3 times to victory. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. I have a lot more confidence about this game than I did on the Monday night game. And for some odd reason, I just have a lot more confidence in general. I don't even think it has anything to do with what the Bills did against Carolina. Listen, Carolina's terrible. Carolina is horrendous. I was in those stands, and I just sat there with my buddy, and I stood there, and I could not believe how bad that offense for Carolina was, truly. God bless Cam Newton, an NFL legend for sure. As somebody who grew up watching his glory days, especially in college as well, I'll always have respect for Cam Newton. It is time to hang it up, my guy. It is time to hang it up. It was abysmal. That is not NFL football that we saw out of the Carolina Panthers on offense. Just so bad. The release time for Cam Newton, I've never seen anything like it. It's like uncorking a cannon. I mean, it's crazy. It takes the guy 5 seconds to get the ball out of his hands. Every time they ran a draw with him, which felt like every other play, his delayed time to hit the line of scrimmage was literally what it felt like 2 minutes. He'd take the snap, he'd read the line, and before you knew it, there was a gang of Bills players behind the line of scrimmage. And the only real time the Bills let up points in the first half was off that bad Josh Allen interception. It was not a good throw. We can't have that in that area of the field. That was the most disheartening play of the game. But there really wasn't many after that. Josh Allen had a terrific game outside of that interception. But it's really tough for you. This is the problem with these games, and this is why when I have a show on Monday following a game like this, it's really tough for me to put a game like that into perspective because it is what it is. The Carolina Panthers are who they are. They are not a good football team, especially on offense. Like I was mentioning, their defense is more than respectable. They statistically have one of the top defenses in the league, but you are not going to be winning many games when you have the offense that they do, when you have Cam Newton playing quarterback. And when you're going up against the Bills D, who's right there at the top of the league, it's not going to happen. It's just simply not going to happen. But what I like to see out of this Bills team is they put their foot on the gas. And even when they could have let up, they could have definitely allowed Carolina to get back in the game. Despite dominating the entire second quarter, you see the Bills quickly lose their lead, and it's 14-8 off that Allen interception. It could have gone the other way. And we've seen teams allow inferior teams all year to allow games to go the other way. And the Bills didn't. And up until the final drive of the game, the Bills made sure that they were going to win that one going away. And that's exactly what they did. You'll allow 14 points any week, no matter who you're playing, and you'll take 30 plus every week, no matter who you're playing. But it's incredibly tough to say, well, what did we learn from this game? And what we learned in this game is the Bills are exactly who they are. And this has kind of been the theme for the last several weeks. And the Bills are a team who is going to, I think, struggle against the top of the NFL. And they are going to win in a fashion that I don't think is incredibly sexy, but it ultimately winds up being a fashion that gets the job done by multiple scores. We've seen this against every team that they should be except the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, think about it. Every team that's on the same level as the Carolina Panthers that the Bills have played this year, they have won going away every single time in a fashion that never really made you think, well, that was just some of the best football I've ever seen. You're never walking away saying that. Oftentimes you're saying, it was kind of ugly, but look at the scoreboard. And that's what it was. But as we know, in December in the NFL, you're not going to be winning games oftentimes in a sexy manner. It is not going to happen. It is do or die time. It is the final stretch. You are not going to be winning many games with highlight reel plays. It's going to be in the trenches. It's going to be gritty, and you're going to have to earn every W. And the Bills did exactly that on Sunday. The pressure was on. They had to get it done, and they did exactly that. And I can't reiterate this enough. You have a team like the Arizona Cardinals with the 1 seed right around the corner, and they find a way to lose to the Detroit Lions. So when you look back and you see the Bills lose to Jacksonville, and as that gets even more questionable with what happened with Urban Meyer, it's so hard to rest your laurels on it. And it's so hard to wrap your head around it. But it's good knowing that almost every team this year, it seems, who is at the top of the league, they have had a game like that. And luckily for the Bills, it's not happening in December. A game like that could have happened yesterday for Buffalo. And I'm not saying it couldn't happen down the stretch, but it's good to see that they took care of Carolina the way that they did. And it gives me a lot more confidence knowing that they can do the same exact thing against Atlanta and New York. But this game's in the books. How much do you really want to talk about it? Before I move on from it, however, I do want to bring something up. Gabriel Davis, folks, might be the biggest steal the Bills have had. And we'll see how it pans out. But at this given moment, he might be one of the biggest draft steals we'll ever see. This kid is unbelievable. And it is absolutely criminal that he has gotten the amount of targets that he has gotten over the course of this season. Gabriel Davis needs to be a focal point for this offense every single week. Every single time this kid gets thrown the ball, he makes something special happen. I swear to God, it seems every time that Gabriel Davis gets a target, something big happens. And he doesn't get nearly enough of them. He is having an incredible season despite having very limited opportunities. Gabriel Davis is a stud, an absolute stud, and a bona fide wide receiver too right now. I don't care what anybody says. If you don't know that Gabriel Davis has earned his right as a wide receiver too, you're not watching football and you're not watching the Buffalo Bills. 5 catches on 7 targets, 17 yards on average per catch, 2 touchdowns. And the first touchdown he had was one of the prettiest and most mind-blowing plays you'll see. I had an absolutely incredible view of it. I was in the corner, like I mentioned, lower bowl, and I looked at my buddy. I could not believe that ball was caught. And if you look at how I think it's ESPN or whoever does it, how they analyze plays, and all the plays each player is turned into a circle and it's animated. And it shows you the odds of which the play should be able to happen or whatnot. If you look at it from that perspective, it looked like it was literally impossible. And what does that show you? You got a quarterback in Josh Allen who might be one of 2-3 quarterbacks in the league who can make that throw. And you got a guy in Gabriel Davis who can make that catch. I mean, talk about an incredible play from the wide receiver position. That'll go overlooked because it was an insane throw. But you're backed up on the edge of the end zone. It's colder than hell. And you got two corners in your face. You got two D-backs draping you. An unbelievable catch. The dude catches everything that comes his way. I was at the Jets game, and that was the first game, I think, all season where he really had opportunities to flourish, and he took advantage of every one of them. And I remember just thinking to myself, my God, there needs to be more of this. There needs to be more. And last week, they got him involved against Tampa. He's the reason the game went to overtime. There isn't another receiver on that team, I think, who's got the size to get that extra yard on fourth down that Gabriel Davis got. He's probably one of the most underrated players in the entire NFL, especially at the wide receiver position. And every single time you watch him get his hands on the ball, you say to yourself, we need more of that. And there's a reason he led the way by far on Sunday with yards, 85, like I mentioned, 2 touchdowns, including the final one to seal the game. An incredible day for Gabriel Davis, and I think it's one of many to come. He had an amazing year last year. I think a lot of us were expecting even more of that this year. The targets have gone down what seems to be dramatically early on in the season, but as we have noticed as of late, the more targets that he gets, the more he impacts the game. And when you have Stephon Diggs, who everybody knows is going to be your primary target, you have got to have a reliable guy to take some of that load off, and I think Gabriel Davis is that. He has not given me a reason to think otherwise. I am utterly impressed with Gabriel Davis. And yesterday, I think, is just another moment where you have a good sample size as to why. But even that game, outside of that game, I think we all know as Bills fans what Gabriel Davis is. It's time the rest of the league figures it out as well. The kid's an absolute stud. And he's going to be an incredible weapon down the stretch here. I just hope that they have realized in that coaching room that he is somebody that the game plan needs to be designed around numerous plays a game. I truly hope that that winds up becoming the reality. He affects the game in bigger ways than most other players on this team do, and he's been doing it for weeks with very limited opportunities. I liked what I saw to Dawson Knox as well. I think he had a really bad drop, but as we know, the more open Dawson Knox seems to be, the more difficult it is for him to make a catch, but he has some incredible grabs in this one. I've absolutely loved what we've gotten out of Dawson Knox this year. I don't know many who don't. He's been a reliable target all year, and he was on Sunday. But the Bills did a really good job of doing a fluid game plan on Sunday. I mean, look at the amount of pass plays to rush plays. I think it was a perfect blend for a game like this, especially when Allen was banged up. You had 27 rush attempts to 34 pass attempts. And that, of course, is exactly what you want for any team. You want to be able to do that in any game. And I understand it's probably easier to get away with it in a game against Carolina. But like I keep saying, this defense is no slouch. I was impressed with what the Bills were able to do on offense. Outside of Allen's pick, and it was her horrendous pick, I was impressed with the game plan and the ability to execute it. Because frankly, we have not seen a whole lot of consistency between the pass game and the run game being combined into one fluid outing. And I understand, I mean, the first quarter was some horrendous football on both ends. Good Lord. I thought we were in for another Jags-Bills game. I thought the Bills would win, but it was looking to me like, yeah, God, it's freezing cold. Nobody can do anything here. Are we looking at a 9-3 game? But outside of that first quarter, the Bills got it rolling. I thought Allen played really well. 19-34 doesn't look like it's incredibly well, but listen, you'll take 3 touchdowns any day of the week. Folks, it was freezing there. If you're not there, I'm telling you firsthand, I live in Rochester. I know all about it being cold. It was damn cold at that game, and I'm sure that has an impact. But I thought Allen had a good game. I'm taking 3 TDs from Allen any day of the week, especially when we know he was probably on the fringe to play. If it was anybody else, you wonder if he really would have played. But it's Allen, so you know he's going to be in the game for sure. So just like that, it's 8-6. And just like that, the Bills control their own destiny for an AFC East title to repeat. And this is exactly what you want. I mean, I understand it isn't what we wanted to begin the year, but can you think of anything better in this given moment? Can you think of anything better than an AFC East game for the title, essentially? I mean, we haven't had, think about it. We won the division last year going away. And then every year prior to that, it wasn't close. Think about what we have around the corner here. An AFC East game that not only matters, it might be the biggest ever, or at least one of the biggest in the last couple decades. It's a massive game. It's a massive game. And if you want to see what the Bills are going to be come playoff time, you are going to find out this coming Sunday, because it doesn't get bigger than this. Sunday is a playoff game. And I'm going to talk more about the Bills-Pats game this coming Sunday after a quick word from our friends over at NordVPN.
Are you out of market, but the NFL Sunday ticket is just too expensive? Hey, this is Pierre the Kingpin from the Buffalo Fanatics, and do we have a deal for you? Watching all NFL games live while having the ability to watch the replay whenever you'd like is what makes the NFL Sunday ticket so popular. The issue is the pricing is just outrageous. Getting DAZN along with NordVPN will cut that price in half. Here are the details. Go to supportbf.com and sign up for DAZN. Then go back and sign up for NordVPN. Once done, just switch your VPN to Canada and sign into DAZN. Now sit back and enjoy some football. It's the Kingpin, and I'm out.
First of all, I know what you're thinking. Am I going to be wearing the jacket during the Bills-Pats game? Is the sky blue? Would be the better question. This thing ain't coming off. As soon as I put this thing on, I felt a power over me. And it was a vision. And it was, there's no way the Bills can lose while I got this leather jacket on. I don't think you understand. When you put this jacket on, a feeling comes over you that you cannot explain. And I put this on for the first time in the lots yesterday. And I had my suspicions about the Bills going against this defense. Not going to lie. They all went away immediately. I go, there's no possible way. So, yes, I will have this on Sunday. But outside of that, outside of the fact that I am going to be wearing this jacket against the Patriots, I am confident in this game beyond wearing the jacket. I don't know what it is, but the more time I've had to think about what that game was against New England, the more time I've had to think about what New England is, what the Bills are, and where I think this game goes. You have to understand that that game on Monday night, as embarrassing as it was, especially in the fashion that they lost, that is a one-off game. It is an anomaly. The wind was so egregious, it altered the game to where you won't see it again unless you get elements like that. And the Patriots were better equipped for that game, 100%. And that's the reason they won. The Bills are not equipped to win a game like that. They don't have the run game for it. They don't. But they are better equipped to win a game against New England like we have coming up here in standard weather. It's going to be a typical Sunday afternoon in Boston. It's not going to be like what it was on Monday night. And I will take my chances with Josh Allen over Mac Jones in that exact circumstance. Absolutely. And I think with the amount of stakes that this game has, what's on the line? I saw somebody in the comments here. Let me scroll back up. It's a perfect way to put it. I gotta find this comment. Somebody in here said that this is a come to Jesus game. And I think that that's a perfect way to put it, because there's a lot that's going to be proved this coming Sunday. Here it is. I don't know. I keep scrolling over it. It's my boy, John. And John comes in and says, this is a come to Jesus game. Time from here on out is to stack wins. Buffalo might as well believe they are playing playoff games now. 100%. Well said, John. This game Sunday, it's a playoff game. Might not count as one, but it's a playoff game. It is as big of a regular season game as you are going to find. It's as big of an AFC East regular season game as the Bills have been a part of in my lifetime. And I like the way you say this is a come to Jesus game, because I think it's a come to Jesus moment for a lot of elements on this team. One, Sean McDermott. This is a huge come to Jesus game for Sean McDermott. I think a lot of questions have been circulating Sean McDermott the last couple months that he has not had to face throughout his career as the Buffalo Bills head coach. The expectations this year were awfully high and they were not met. And that, of course, is going to result in questions surrounding your coaching staff. And I think Sean McDermott has had questions surrounding him the last couple of months. And I don't think he has particularly dealt very well with the circumstances he's been faced with this season. The Bills are 0-5 in games that result in one-score outcomes. That comes down to coaching. 0-5 in those elements is absolutely unacceptable and absurd. And he was outcoached against New England and lost to a team that threw the ball 3 times. He could not adjust to get that game done. And I thought one of the more poorly coached games this season for McDermott was that New England game. I thought it was just a bad outing for Coach McDermott. I thought it was just poor outing for not only him, but for Brian Dable as well. It was a poorly coached game through and through. Come to Jesus moment for Sean McDermott this weekend. How are you going to right the ship after that game? Because you know damn well what that resulted in. All anybody could talk about after that game was how good New England was, how Bill Belichick is the second coming of Christ because he was able to win without having to throw the ball. I mean, what do I need? I don't need to sit here and reiterate it all for you. You saw all the storylines. And of course, after that game, Sean McDermott was blasted for, and I defended him because I thought it was horse crap. It was ridiculous that he was blown up for saying that we shouldn't give more credit to Bill Belichick than was deserved in that game. Look I get it. I understand why the media ran away with it. It's a soundbite that gets clicks. I hated that it was took to where it was, but it was because that's what happens. But guess what? It still happened. It was still a reality. That was the soundbite played for McDermott afterwards. You got another chance to rewrite the wrongs here in a much bigger circumstance. Huge come to Jesus game for Sean McDermott. Can you outcoach Bill Belichick in essentially a playoff game for the division? It is a come to Jesus game for Josh Allen as well. This will be the biggest game for Josh Allen in the regular season in his young career. And as we know, the old cliche is all young quarterbacks struggle against Bill Belichick. Josh Allen, outside of the COVID year last year against a far inferior New England team, has had his struggles as well. We know this. It is a come to Jesus game for Josh Allen. Are you going to show up as the $250 million quarterback who wins you the game like this over a rookie quarterback? Because I don't care what happens in this game, but it is an extremely bad look if you lose 2 games to a rookie quarterback in your own division. Because that right there is going to give all the media pundits all the ammunition in the world for them to say that Mac Jones right now is the best quarterback in the AFC East. I know. As soon as you hear that, I'm sure that you saw red, your blood boils. I'm sure it does. But that, of course, will be the BS that you see and read after the game, because that is what gets people fired up. That is what gets clicks, and that is what goes viral. So don't allow that to happen. And I see right here Brandon XX coming in and saying it's not Mac versus Josh Allen. Of course it is. They're the 2 quarterbacks. You could say that for any game. I agree with you. The skill level and the talent set between the two is so different. It's so impossible to compare the two. And I agree with you in the sense that I personally don't think it's Mac versus Josh Allen. I feel that way about a lot of games. But ultimately, that's not the narrative because every game is pitted against the 2 quarterbacks. That's what sells. And that's what gets talked about afterwards and beforehand. It's all about the quarterbacks. It's all about the coaches when it comes to games like this. And the storyline after this will be Josh Allen lost both games to Mac Jones, despite how good Josh Allen plays. It doesn't matter. You know as well as I, That is going to be the narrative. 100%. It is a come to Jesus game for Josh Allen because of the stakes at hand. One, you're playing a rookie quarterback, and you don't want to lose to a rookie quarterback, especially when this game is for the division. Two, are you going to assert yourself as the best player in that division and have it not be a contest? Have it give nobody a reason to say otherwise. Three, are you going to prove that the money you're being paid is well worth it to everybody? Because yet again, in a moment where it needed to get done, the guy that you're paying that amount of money to got it done. That's where Josh Allen is now. It's no longer, man, I hope Allen can go out there and get it done. It's Allen needs to go out there and get it done. As soon as you sign the dotted line on that contract, that narrative changes. He's now the guy that's expected to get it done, that needs to get it done. Mac Jones, you hope he can get it done if you're a Patriots fan, right? You hope that he's able to do just enough for the Patriots to get by. In this game, it's the complete opposite for the Bills. You need Josh Allen because you already know that Belichick is going to come out and have another great game plan like he always does. This game comes down to Josh Allen. There's no excuse for the win anymore for him to not have as many attempts as possible. I think in this game, what we realized is that against the Patriots on Monday night, he should have thrown the ball far more than they allowed him to. He was capable of doing it in that weather. Let him have the opportunity to do it this coming Sunday. Put the game in Josh Allen's hands because listen, in this big of a game, win or lose, I want it to come down to my best player, and I want him to determine the outcome. And I just don't think, despite what I liked seeing from Devin Singletary this past week, and I don't know if 22 carries for Devin Singletary against the Patriots is a smart move. I don't think it works because it didn't work for shit on Monday night. They could not run the ball. I think Allen, and I understand it really all comes down to the injury and the extent of it. And you hope a week from now, it's to the point where it's a non-issue. But if he's capable, they need to run Allen. This is one of those games where you have to do it. It's a gift and a curse, Allen's ability to run the ball. A gift in the sense that he's one of the best to do it in the league, no debate. A curse because it's one of those parts of his game that's going to wind up getting him hurt, and it has, like we just saw last week. But when you have a gift like that, you have to utilize it in your biggest moments, and I think this game qualifies as that 100%. Allen needs to have a significant amount of runs this coming Sunday. He did not have any against the Patriots on Monday night the last time they played, and it was a damn shame, and it was a mistake. That needs to be corrected. Allen needs to run the ball in this game. But above all, I think Allen really needs to just be let loose. I think that this game, you put it in your best player's hands. There's nobody else on that team who's going to affect the outcome more than Allen. And in a game like this, you need your best player to have the ball in his hands. And I hope to God that Allen in this matchup, I hope he gets 40 plus throws. That's the way this one should come down to. I mean, for God's sake, if Mac Jones is getting 45 against the Colts, what does that tell you? Now, he got it for the wrong reasons. But Allen needs to have a significant amount of throws in this game. I mean, if we go back to the stats against the Patriots on the Monday night game, I understand everybody's excuse for this one was, of course, well, the wind, the elements. He's the only quarterback in the league who that really shouldn't have affected, and it didn't really affect him. The problem is they realized it far too late. He only threw the ball 30 times against New England on that Monday night game. You're going to need And I understand when you look at that 30, you think that's a significant amount, but anybody who watched that game knows it never, ever in a million years felt like Allen threw that ball 30 times. I mean, give me a break, right? It never felt like that. Now, I'm not saying he needs to throw it 54 times like he did against Tampa Bay, but I'd like to see more than 30. Truly would. Because 30 is one of the lower amounts that he had thrown in the last few months, 28 or so against the Colts or the Jets and the Saints, but those were different circumstances. In a game like the Saints or the Jets where the game's in hand, like it was pretty early on, yeah, you don't need Allen 30 plus. But in this game, 35 plus minimum for Allen. And then as far as the defensive side of the things are concerned for this game, I'm overly confident in the defense in this game. I'm overly confident in the defense's ability to shut down Mac Jones in this game. They're not going to run the ball as much as they did the last time. They're not going to be able to get away with it. They can't have the same game plan. It just won't work. You already have a whole game's worth of film on that. Belichick's no idiot. They're not coming back out and running the ball 70 times again. Mac Jones is going to have 20-plus throws in this game, and I'm probably lowballing on that. I will take my chances with the Bills D in that position. But like I mentioned earlier, the biggest element of this game is getting an early lead. If the Bills can get the lead early, it's going to force Mac Jones to throw, and the game's immediately turned into the Bills' favor. That is the biggest element and the biggest factor in this game, in my opinion. Silas, my man, coming in with the super chat. This game is the proof that last year wasn't a fluke. Belichick has the quarterback he wants and the roster he paid for. If Motor gets 22 carries, 14 of them better be late in the fourth. Go Bills. Go Bills, Silas, and appreciate the super chat. Some good points there. Yeah, agree. The only time I think Singletary should get significant, the only time that I think Singletary should have significant runs in this game is to ice the game out. 100%, Silas. Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, you're right. Last year, it's hard to say that it wasn't a fluke. The Patriots had the most opt-outs in the entire league. They had Cam Newton as their quarterback. And what did you see yesterday? It's just not, it's not NFL football. Cam Newton at the quarterback position is not NFL talent in this day and age. It's not. It was just bad. And I wanted to go see Cam Newton in person as well. It's another reason I was excited for that game because I hadn't seen him. And like I said earlier, I'll always have respect for Cam Newton growing up. He was an electrifying player to watch. It was almost sad watching him in the state he's in now yesterday. I mean, that's just not NFL football. You look at Allen and the throw he had to Gabe Davis for that touchdown, and then you look at the way Cam Newton was throwing the ball, and I mean, it's not even like you're watching the same league, truly. And that is who was leading the charge for New England last year. And the Bills beat the living hell out of them in their second crack last year. And I only think the reason the first game was so close is because it was a monkey on the Bills' back they hadn't gotten rid of in years. And that's tough to do no matter who you're playing. They got the win. It was ugly, but they got the win. Once that monkey was gone, they beat the crap out of them the next time they played. This game, that's another reason why I think it's a come-to-Jesus game. Silas brings up a great point. If you lose Sunday, you erase the AFC East accomplishment that you had last year, in my opinion. Because nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to care that the Bills won the AFC East in a down year for New England during the coronavirus pandemic season. Nobody's going to care because the following year, if they beat the Bills twice and win the division, what's going to be the talking point? It's going to be that. It's not going to be the Bills. Nobody's going to care. It's going to look like a fluke. And you could really argue that it was if that winds up being the case, right? How could it not be? You mean to tell me the only time the Bills reach the top of the mountain is when the Patriots essentially take a year off? That is going to be the narrative. And it's one that I don't even know if I disagree with, truly. It will look like a fluke 100%. And that's the last thing you want. With the direction that the Bills are heading in under this regime, the last thing you want is for anything to look like a fluke. Especially against this team that the Bills are built to be better than for the foreseeable future. It's the last thing that you want. There is going to be so many negative elements and storylines that come out of this coming weekend if the Bills lose. That is why the game is so much bigger than it seems on paper, and it's huge on paper. This game is massive. Get hyped all week long. This game is huge. For so many more reasons than you're going to hear anywhere else. For so many more reasons than the AFC East title. This game is, a lot of it comes down to pride. Do you really want to immediately lose grasp of the thing that you couldn't get your hands around for 2 decades to the same team who wouldn't let you get that grasp a year later under a rookie quarterback, 2 years removed after Brady leaves? Is that what you want? I hope that these storylines are being spewed out by McDermott in the locker room. There's a lot for this team to get pumped up about going into this coming game. There's a lot of bulletin board material. I know if I was in that locker room, all of these elements that I'm mentioning right now would be on my brain. Anything that I could drum up to get some added inspiration, that would be on the brain of me, and it should be on the brain of any of those players in that locker room. It's just a huge game. And the most incredible thing is none of what has happened this season will matter if you win this game and take care of what you're supposed to take care of down the stretch. And that's beating two awfully inferior teams compared to the Bills roster. It's amazing. The Bills did not have a good year. They did not. And nobody will care when the season ends if they get done what they're supposed to get done down the stretch here. It's incredible. And that oftentimes is what happens to good teams. Despite not hitting expectations, you wind up hitting expectations in a different way. I think the expectation this year was they would be in position to battle for the 1 seed down to the last week. That's not the case. But like I said on the top of the show, the other expectation was, of course, to win the AFC East and to continue to hold your grasp on that position. They have all the chances in the world to get it done. As many chances as they had to begin the season. They're as much in the driver's seat today as they were 3 months ago. Let's get over to the comments here. And let's see what we got coming in on here. Brandon XX coming in. McDermott said in his speech after the game, Carolina was going to be their toughest test the rest of the way. That is news to me, Brandon. Did not hear that. I'm going to have to look that up. I'm going to pretend like I didn't read that. I hope to God nobody in New England read that, because that's the last thing you want to do. You already know Belichick's playing on loop the soundbite that he said, Belichick didn't deserve credit, whatever. Belichick is a mastermind at getting his players fired up without himself getting fired up, because I don't think he's really capable of it. Listen, you know how we all feel about Tom Brady. I mean, come on, I don't even need to get into it. But I have been watching Man in the Arena. It's good. It's good. And it's good for more reasons outside of just Tom Brady's success. It's interesting to watch all the elements that surrounded the Patriots and their dynasty. It's a really good watch. It can be frustrating at times, believe me, as a Bills fan. I mean, give me a break, but it's a good watch. Anyway, the best thing I took away from the Man in the Arena, there's a clip, and it's right before the Patriots play the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I forget what year. And Belichick, it's a clip of them. I think it's the day before the game, maybe 2 days before the game. They're having a team meeting. Belichick walks into the room. And just classic Belichick form, straight face, no emotion. He walks out, and he's got a stack of papers. And he addresses the team. He goes, just want to let all you guys know, they planned the Super Bowl parade in Philadelphia, if any of you guys plan on attending that. He then goes to the paper and he reads out all the planned stops that were scheduled for the parade in Philadelphia. And he keeps saying to them, hey, if you guys want to go to it, more than welcome. You should go to the parade. And he goes at the end, he goes, should we even bother playing the game, guys? Do you even want to show up? Because that's what they think of you. They have such little respect for you as a team that they've already scheduled their parade. I don't even think we should play the game. And I didn't do that even close to the service it deserved. Go watch it. But it was, as much as I just despise Bill Belichick and the Patriots, even I was fired up after that. The way he was able to formulate that into something to be pumped up about was something that only Bill Belichick could do in the manner in which he did it. And what I'm saying here is that team's going to be ready to roll this coming weekend. Don't get it twisted, especially after the way that they just got their ass handed to them. That team's going to be ready to roll 100%. It's going to be a hell of a game. I absolutely cannot wait. And the best part is it's a day after Christmas. Like, it just feels like how big of a, how great. And I understand you gamble the highs with the lows here, but you want to talk about the ultimate Christmas gift for an entire population of people. It's the Bills getting a victory over the Patriots in the biggest game they've had against them in like 2 decades, the day after Christmas. It doesn't get bigger than that, folks. It truly does not get bigger than that. Insane stuff. I can't wait. I want to know in the comments before I get rolling here what your guys' thoughts are, what your predictions are for this game. As much as you know how I like to always keep it real with you guys. I really do. I always keep it real. I will always tell you what I think. I will always tell you it with utter honesty what I think will happen, and I cannot stress this enough. I am confident. I am confident that the Bills win this game. And I wish I had a good reasoning, a good explanation. I don't. A lot of the times, this stuff for me is like a sixth sense. If you remember back before the Colts game, I had this same feeling, but the opposite way. I thought to myself, I don't know what it is. I don't think there's no way the Bills win today. I don't know what it is. They don't win today. Now, I'm not a sorcerer. I don't have the answers. But I can only go based on what I personally feel. And a lot of times I have a lot of negative, pessimistic thoughts with this team. I don't have that right now. And this is usually a time in which I would. And I don't know why. It's kind of scaring the crap out of me a little bit that I don't feel that way. But maybe it's the holidays. I don't know. I see a lot of you guys talking about the flex down here. The flex opportunity is over. The game is not being flexed. The game is not being flexed Sunday. This game is being played at 1 o'clock in Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. Lock it in. Don't worry about it. It is not getting flexed. I wish it would. I think as big of a game as this is, you're probably missing out not flexing it, in my opinion. But this game is not going to be flexed. This game is 1 o'clock Sunday at Gillette. Go into your predictions right now. Scott Blakely, 31-17 Bills. Bills, 27-13. Coming from my boy Chelly. Richard Rush, 28-24. So it's looking to me, well, at least based on what Scott and Chell are saying here, you're thinking that the Bills defense is going to have a good outing. And I think that's going to be a big part of it. I think if the Bills defense has a good outing, that ultimately results in a better offensive performance, because I just think the better the defense plays for the Bills early on, the more opportunity the Bills have to gain the advantage early, which means New England is going to throw more often. And I think if that happens, the more this game goes into the Bills' favor. 27-20 says Patrick Guerra. Justin coming in and saying 17-15 Bills, just squeak it out. Tebow, 35-21 Bills, 30-20 Bills, says Jason Taylor. So not a single one of you are not confident in the Bills this weekend, and I absolutely love it. I think that mentality was not the same a couple weeks ago. So we'll see. We'll see. I will say this is a much better chance for the Bills to win it. The odds were stacked against them on the Monday night game. Like I said earlier, this team was not built for that game, and it showed. And it's unfortunate because I think that could come back and haunt them again. The running joke recently has been, how is a team from Buffalo not built to run the ball? They're in Buffalo. Well, a lot of teams aren't built that way. It's just unfortunate that the Bills are one of the only cities in the country and in the league that have to worry about legitimately playing in a hurricane. Most teams aren't built for power running anymore. It's just very obvious that the Bills aren't because they play in Buffalo, right? Cameron, 28-21. Josh, 35-17. All Bills. 23-21 coming from Fireball Fire. I love that. 32-10 says Dawn. I love the confidence, Dawn. 10-7, Patrick Guerra, or 10-7 rather, could make the playoffs, but 11 to be safe. 10-7 could get it done. As you saw in the playoff simulator I did last week, it can get it done, but you're leaving it up to chance at that point. 11-6 is the only way to control your destiny to get into the playoffs. 27-20 says Jeff Danger. 45-0 coming from fuck 'em. Let's end it there, because you want to know why? Fuck 'em. That's what I'm saying. I love it. Love the confidence. And I could not be more excited for this game, and I'm sure you guys all feel the same way. Folks, December 20th, the next time I will see you, Santa will have already come down the chimney and head back to the North Pole. I can't even believe I'm saying that. It's officially Christmas week. Saturday's Christmas, and the biggest game of the year is the next day. You can't beat it. Everybody, I hope you enjoy the hell out of it. Have a very, very Merry Christmas. Enjoy the holiday. And more importantly, enjoy the Bills game Sunday. It's the biggest one in quite some time. Looking forward to recapping that one with you this coming Monday night. But until then, enjoy your holiday. Have a very, very Merry Christmas. And as always, go Bills.